Good day, everyone. For this particular talk, I will be defining pedagogy as a process. Pedagogy is the combination of teaching methods, what teachers do, learning activities, what teachers ask learners to do, and learning assessments, the assignments, projects, or tasks that measure student learning. In these digital times, the ODEL, or Open and Distance E-Learning, is an appropriate framework for teaching and learning. Allow me to share with you my open distance e-learning experience. In 2006, the UP Open University went completely online and went into innovation and research to study the practice of ODEL. The discourse of ODEL has extensively thickened with the conduct of numerous national and international conferences that created synergy through the sharing of massive research in diverse fields and areas of study. So today, we may say that ODEL has become a worldview to help transform higher education institutions to be more responsive to our fast-changing world. The merging of open learning, distance education, and e-learning. Open learning is a philosophy that champions access and equity and pushes the culture of resource sharing. Distance education allows flexible and active teaching and learning that accommodates learners' choice of pace, place, and time. E-learning contributes to this worldview of having a landscape of interactivity, ubiquity, and connectivity. All these to merge with a university ethos of excellence, academic freedom, humanism, intellectual pluralism, cultural diversity, and service to society for social transformation. In line with this, let me discuss the paradigms of learning. And when we say paradigm, this is attached to a worldview. These are some of the major educational theories of learning. 1. Behaviorism. It is a view in which behavior can be explained by external factors and behavioral conditioning that can be used as a universal learning process. In behaviorism, the ideas of positive and negative reinforcement are effective tools of learning and behavior modification, as well as a punishment and reward system in a systematic and observable manner, regardless of internal mental states. According to this perspective, only observable behavior should be considered. Cognitions, emotions, and moods are far too subjective. And 2, cognitivism. It is a learning theory developed by Jean Piaget in which a child develops cognitive pathways in understanding and physical response to experiences. In this theory, students learn most effectively through reading text and lecture instruction. Constructivism, number 3, is the idea that people are responsible for creating their own understanding of the world and using what they know based on previous experiences. In the process of linking new information to these experiences, people use these experiences and new information to construct their own meaning. Number 4, humanism, focuses on the individual as the subject and asserts that learning is a natural process that helps a person reach self-actualization. Analyzing scenarios, role modeling are important factors in humanistic learning, as our experiences exploring and observing others. It is a philosophical stance that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings, individually and collectively. The meaning of the term humanism has fluctuated according to the successive intellectual movements which have identified with it. 5. Connectivism. Connectivism is a relatively new learning theory, and I would like to elaborate on this, as this was developed and based upon the idea that people process information by forming connections. This theory has developed with the digital and technology age, adapting to advances in these arenas. This new theory suggests that people no longer stop learning after formal education and continue to gain knowledge from other avenues such as job skills, networking, experience, and access to information with new tools in technology. And George Simmons, in 2004, developed connectivism learning theory by mapping out his 8 guiding principles. You have learning and knowledge rest in a diversity of opinions, perspectives from a variety of sources deepen our understanding. Learning is a process of connecting. When we build relationships with colleagues, we open ourselves up to new skills, thoughts, and ideas we might not otherwise have access to. Learning may reside in non-human appliances. Learners may store information in a digital way, like in an app, social media, post, or video. Similarly, a community of learners may store information in a database or forum. The capacity to know more is more critical than what is currently known. As Simmons say, our ability to learn what we need for tomorrow is more important than what we know today. Nurturing and maintaining connections is needed to facilitate continual learning. So, collaborative social interaction brings people together and forms the long-term learning environment. Ability to see connections between fields, ideas, and concepts is a core skill. We must learn how to build a bridge to connect point A to point B. That bridge itself is a new learning opportunity. Accurate, up-to-date knowledge is the intent of all connectivist learning. When we work together, our understanding are constantly being reinforced and updated. Decision-making is itself a learning process. What we know today may change tomorrow. If up-to-date information is the intent of connectivism, we must accept that our knowledge will need to continuously evolve as new understandings present themselves. So let me talk about flexible, remote, blended teaching and learning. But most importantly, it is going to be learner-centered. There are students with access to internet with high to satisfactory connectivity and have available devices and gadgets like computers, whether desktops or laptops, tablets, and mobile phones. With high to satisfactory digital literacy, that would mean may opt for online learning and can access the institution's LMS, which makes them comfortable in using remote technology. There are students rather, with minimal to no access to the internet, with low to poor connectivity, and have minimal to no available devices and gadgets, probably occasionally use the mobile phones, and with low digital literacy, and cannot access the institution's LMS, but may be comfortable with offline or non-digital technology. And therefore, knowing that we have learners with varied levels of access to digital technology, here is where we must take extra effort to be inclusive and that no learner will be left behind. It is important to use various means of digital and non-digital technology as delivery modes, as long as it carries outcomes-based education. Our institutions must be in support of flexibility needed translated into the course design using various delivery modes and imaginative assessment to achieve the set learning outcomes of each and every course of the program. Guidelines for quality assurance in all levels. We always make mention of outcomes-based and learner-centered writing for learner engagement. So our course guides, course materials, course contents must be produced with independent learners in mind. We shall do this with writing our self-assessment questions, wrap around chapters of books, e-books, textbooks, written in modules, and also requirements must encourage transparency, accountability, and fairness, as learners and faculty are co-creators of academic text and knowledge, strengthening the higher levels of learning. Research-based requirements. This is very important. Research papers, synthesis papers, and reflection papers must be part of the assessment process. Project-based requirements. But I think it's very important to emphasize here that in teaching and learning, we also must have research. This is quite important. And of course, reporting of learners to be on video. You can upload that, submit the link, or submit a USB. Documentaries and documentation projects may be on video or portfolio. So let's talk about asynchronous learning as well. So asynchronous learning online or offline platforms is the substance of inclusivity, accessibility, ubiquity, and flexibility of pace, time, and place. Synchronous learning platform orientation is also important. Use it to facilitate learning, asking learners what they do not understand in the course materials and activities and so on. Not to lecture. The course design, course guide, and course resources must help students become independent learners. Clear guidelines are very important. There should be a discussion about open educational resources, or OER, and intellectual property rights. Copyleft and copyright. There has to be discussion about plagiarism. It is important to update our students as well. Teaching complement and reporting is very important. Let us take note that the teacher is the course designer, facilitator for learning, and must be fully supported by the administration. The teacher's responsibility is to curate and produce course materials, resources, open educational resources as well. Identify experts in the field of the discipline who will write or lecture or do a podcast to be part of the course content and course materials. Again, we must be reminded, learner-centered writing of course guide, self-assessment questions, activity-driven exercises, and requirements for the strengthening of learner engagement. So you see, there has to be the interaction between content and learner, teacher and learner, community and learner, and learner with other learners. Course pack. This is a very important item. It contains the following: detailed course guide, learning resources per study unit, study guide per study unit, activity guides, and assignment guides. The course structure refers to the choice of topics and organization and sequencing of course content. Remember that the choice of topics and their organization should always support the learning objectives for the course. At this point, allow me to deconstruct course design and development. So let's look into the course structure. You have the title of the course and an introduction, an orientation connecting with students, course description, course objectives, course resources per module. In this example, you have 4 units. So unit 1, you'll have the title and an introduction, and then you have module 1, 2, 3, and then you come in with learning activities per module, and so on. You have unit 2 and the same thing. Then module 4 comes in unit 2 and 5, and so on. Unit 3 will carry module 6, 7, and 8, and it goes on. A syllabus is your general guide to a course and what will be expected of learners in the course. Generally, it will include course description, course objectives, course policies, rules and regulations, learning activities, required texts, and a schedule of assignments. As you can see in this diagram, you have intended learning outcomes, you have learning and teaching activities, and course requirements and assessment. In the middle, you see course design writing, course guide, planning the course content as well. And this is a whole process. So we start with, what do we mean by intended learning outcomes? As you can see, intended learning outcomes should be specific, measurable, and realistic. It has to be learner-centered as well. And here, there is a question here. Are the course objectives the same as learning outcomes? So, at this point, it is important to know what should learners know and be able to do. Now, let's talk about the Bloom's taxonomy and the OBE active verbs. So let me let me go through these models in front of you. We have the outcomes-based education active verbs, it says. But you have two models here, the 1956 model and the 2001 model. In the 1956 model, you see that these are all nouns. And on the other side, you have, it is all in verb form. So you have, in the noun model, as you can see in the base, you have knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And this has all been turned into the verb form. So you have remember, understand, apply, analyze, and then a switch. You have evaluate and create. At the apex, you have create, to create, and that is an active verb. In this model, in this version of Bloom's taxonomy, you can see that it is flat. And so there is, you could say that one is not more important than the other. So you have remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. And you have the active verbs that are examples of what you can use. As you can see there, you have verbs that can now describe what you want the learners to do and to know in your course. But this is most interesting, the newest version, which is really so aware of the digital world. You have the Bloom's taxonomy of digital planning verbs. As you can see here, in Bloom's taxonomy digital planning verbs, under remembering, you have verbs like copying, defining, finding, locating, quoting, and so on. And under understanding, you have annotating, tweeting, associating, tagging, summarizing, relating, categorizing, and so on. And under applying, you have acting out, articulate, reenact, loading, choosing, determining, and so on. And under analyzing, we have calculating, categorizing, breaking down, correlating, deconstructing, linking, mashing, and so on. Under evaluating, you have arguing, validating, testing, scoring, assessing, criticizing, commenting, debating, defending, detecting, and all these verbs are here under evaluating. And then you have creating, blogging, building, animating, adapting, collaborating, composing, detecting, devising. So now I have presented to you the model of the active verbs that would be on the digital landscape, the 2017 Andrew Church's version of Bloom's taxonomy. Now let me talk about the learning and teaching activities. So that means the planning of the learning experience. Then you have identifying the experts. And this is important, and this has to do with the matching task of coming out with the written texts, textbooks, readers, examples of book chapters, and also articles, and then podcasts, video lectures, and also video demos. These are the multimedia productions that would be available, and most of them can be open educational resources as well. As you can see, here in this learning activities, you will do matching of your experts and the kind of texts that will come out, whether they are a combination of written or oral or even video texts. So what is important at this point is how will learners learn? So that is what we mean by course content and activities. So let us go into details. When we say course content, is also the use of resources online, connecting with the experts through this, let me repeat, journal articles, written texts, learning objects, instructional videos, webinars, PowerPoint with voice, documentaries and images, and many more. So in going synchronous, however, you have social media, streaming apps, you have video conferencing, you have the chat, you have email, you have Gmail, Yahoo, Zoom, Google Meet, Google Hangout, Twitter, Instagram, Viber Messenger, Facebook, web streaming, and so on. That is for synchronous learning. Remember, you have to give a schedule, when and where, and I suggest you record the event and engage in a discussion. In going asynchronous, this is when uploading to the virtual platform is very important. So you have your course resources, pre-recorded course resources, you have slides with narration, video lectures, video demos, and the distribution of these resources, file sharing, Google Drive, email, virtual classroom, or the LMS. So you have the institution's LMS. If your institution has an LMS, then you make use of it. And you have in LMS, you have either Moodle, IVLE, or Google Classroom. So video sharing, and then app, YouTube, video, social media, Facebook, Viber, Instagram, TikTok, open educational resources, and other online productions. For asynchronous learning, so what do we mean here is to make sure at this point when we say schedule, it is putting the link or the URL. You are telling the learner where to access the resources, and it should be available anytime. So like in UP Open University, our MOOCs that are given for free can be accessed at any time, or they will give you the schedule when to access. Then you have open educational resources that are given for free in TVUP, the Internet Television Network of the University of the Philippines System. It is a resource center for sharing, featuring national scientists, national artists, scholars, researchers, documentaries, award-winning short films, and many more. It is a multimedia production center, an open educational resource repository, and a distribution publication system. Its productions can be viewed and downloaded by all for free with open license. It has TV on demand and daily programming, and it has a search mode. And that is most important. The search mode will help you because the materials are curated. It can be accessed nationally and internationally at tvup.ph. It is important that the Filipino scholar claim their space in the virtual platform and share their thoughts for all who want to access them to strengthen the culture of sharing. There are almost 1,000 titles here archived in TVUP that one can access on demand. TVUP has expanded as well, and now it's Channel 101 on Signal. At this point, we have discussed the learning and teaching activities. And so now let's go to course requirements and assessment. We mentioned the different learning paradigms and different learning theories. So it depends on your discipline. So you would be using behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, and humanism. So at this point, I would like to say that it is important to consider connectivism, a learning model that may be appropriate for digital times. Now let me talk about how will learning be measured. So let me talk about course requirements and assessment. So as you can see, it is recommended that our requirements should be research-based and project-based. And also, what we really want to have would be all foundations in terms of our assessment should be testing, mastery-based, competency-based, and outcomes-based. This would be the kind of assessment we want, and to come out with a rubric for it. And this is how learning will be measured in the digital age. We were talking about being learner-centered. So, but what kind of learner do we want to produce? So we want learners to be independent learners. So how do you do this? How do they stay connected and engaged? There are many things that we want them to learn. Number one, they should know how to learn. Learn how to do research. They have to have high self-motivation and good time management. And they should be active in seeking collaboration. They have to be innovative researchers. They should connect with more experts. And always remember that we want them to be co-creators of new knowledge. So it is important that we push them. As we prepare all our guides, we want them to read the course guide very well, and then go through the course content, participate in the learning activities, understand the parameters for assessment, and fulfill and submit course requirements, and push for research in learning and teaching. And also, very important also, is for us to co-create knowledge with them. So to become a guided independent learner for continuity, enhancement, and transformation of education in the Philippines. Again, there are important things I want to leave behind after this talk. It's alignment of education philosophy to Philippine experience and Filipino culture in the use of technology. So again, a reminder, what is important is really alignment of education philosophy to Philippine experience and Filipino culture in the use of technology. Quality assured, technology enhanced, and mediated, blended, remote, and flexible teaching and learning. What we're also pushing for is guided, independent learning. And, very important, critical digital literacy. And our QA system will assure us of agility, excellence, equity, integrity, transparency, and sustainability for continuity, enhancement, and transformation of education for all. I highly therefore recommend to explore multimedia as research. And we talk about going into e-research, e-methodologies, e-pedagogies, and e-modalities. And so I'd like to say, pedagogy is an active process that must respond to our changing digital landscape. And so let us have a focus in understanding e-pedagogies. Thank you very much and have a good day.